In our current age of advanced technology, mental health has been able to be placed under a microscope for the betterment of our knowledge. We have begun to learn the causes and effects of these illnesses and how truly difficult they can be to live with. However, this information has not always been available to us as a society. In the 17th and 18th century, war and economic depression produced rapid numbers of undesirables who were separated from society and sent to asylums. As confinement laws focused on protecting the public from the mentally ill, governments became responsible for housing and feeding these people in exchange for their personal freedom. Most inmates were institutionalized against their will, lived in filthy conditions, and were often exhibited to the public for a fee. These people were nonetheless viewed as animals. Over time, research has begun to develop, and attitudes towards mental health began to shift in the right direction. However, in the year of 2021, there is still a lot of progress to be made. The seriousness of mental illness can be perfectly displayed through one of the most thrilling films of 2019, The Joker. Arthur Fleck is a wannabe stand-up comedian turned street clown who suffers from a number of various mental illnesses, including one which causes him to laugh uncontrollably when he is in an uncomfortable situation, which we will see gets him into some trouble. Arthur lives with his mother, Penny, who he cares about deeply, but finds out the hard truth that he was adopted and is not Thomas Wayne's son. Arthur's mental health causes almost all people in society to reject and bully him, to the point where he is beaten in multiple scenes. Even though all he wants is to be accepted by others, Arthur Fleck seeks to find joy through his stand-up comedy, but cannot overcome the barriers of his disease. He is instead met with doubts and even dismissive responses from his own mother, who tells him, "You have to actually be funny to be a comedian, Arthur." Rough, I know. As he takes care of his mother, he learns she is eventually delusional and is at blame for a lot of his mental health issues. After being brutally beaten in public, having his medication cut off, Arthur's life begins to spiral out of control into delusions, violence, and chaos until he eventually transforms into Gotham's infamous Joker. Arthur reflects our modern-day society as the most mentally disturbed version of the Joker yet. In 2019, the year of the movie premiere, it recorded the highest number of mass shootings ever, and there were more shootings than days in the year. The Joker reflects the trouble we face with mental care, as we see Arthur start off as a kind human, making kids laugh on buses, to eventually killing people for his own defense on a subway. This tells us a lot about ourselves as a collective whole. We see mass shootings so often nowadays that it seems like a normal story in the news, and we don't turn a shoulder. These mentally disturbed people do these horrible things, and we wonder ourselves, why are they like this? Were they born this way? The answer is oftentimes no, sadly. It is our fault as a society, as we bully these people that reach out for help. We fail our part as the human race to help one another when in need. We see Arthur Fleck get constantly bullied throughout the movie for his mental illnesses, things that he cannot control in his life. Here is a scene on the subway.
Buddy, tell us what's so fucking funny.
I have a condition.
I'll tell you what you have, you asshole. We got a kicker, huh? Hey, hold him steady, hold him steady. Stay down, freak.
In a time where you can type away your feelings on the internet, bullying has become so comfortable in our society. I see memes all over the place about school shooters or just people being different. And this is not the right way to cope with feelings. This may seem like fun and games to some, but it can have a serious impact on others with mental illnesses. In doing this, it will create a madness inside of a person, a lot like we see here in The Joker with Arthur. Next, we will be taking a look into another instance where the Joker does an amazing job of captivating the struggle with mental health. Throughout the film, you sense the persona of the Joker slowly begin to form as the people around Fleck mock and treat him like garbage. Arthur eventually becomes the Joker, and the chaos bottled up inside of him begins to let loose. And by the end of the movie, the film will have you wondering, did that actually just happen?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get
I don't think so.
when you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with your
loner
jokes.
with
That's
a
it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash?
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Well, the answer is who knows. This is exactly what you're supposed to feel when you watch this movie. Arthur, being in such a blurred mental state, struggles himself to understand what is reality. This is an exaggerated form of what a lot of people with mental illness can feel like. We see Arthur have a fake romantic relationship with his neighbor that was all in his head, shoot his idol on live television, and even strangle his own mother to death in a hospital room. As we see through the eyes of Arthur, we take in the hallucinations he has, and we get to tag along and experience what goes on in the mind of the extreme mentally ill. Arthur was tired of being a shadow to others in the world, and eventually, he couldn't handle that feeling of isolation and rejection, as no one can. Here's what the director had to say about this. Quote, "To us, it was surprising the reaction our movie created, because isn't it the same to pretend that these people don't exist, pretend that we're not failing these people? Why is it so bad to shine a light on them and see what makes them that way, or try and look into it? That's what it felt like we were doing." End of quote. Now, when a person gets bullied so much and is driven to these psychotic behaviors for so long, we see how hard it is to control your thoughts and take control of your mind and body. And when I personally watched this film, I could just immediately see the correlation between our society and how we fail to help these people in need. Once we drive them and bully them to this stage, it's so hard for them to grasp reality and what really is going on, and what is right and wrong. And honestly, who are we to tell them what is right and wrong if we made them this way?
Get away from me.
Towards the end of the movie, when chaos was riddled throughout the city due to Arthur's violence, we see one of the most iconic scenes in the film. As Arthur makes his way down the elevator and out to the city, we see him joyously dance down the renowned steps in the center of Gotham. After retaining his revenge against society, Arthur finally expresses his emotions on screen, and after years of hardship and neglect, he finally feels as if he means something in this world and can be heard. In this cinematically beautiful scene, we can all relate to Arthur in some way. In regards to mental health, it can make you feel so restricted while pursuing normal activities in your life. Coming to terms with your illness and figuring out how to deal with it in a civilized and beneficial way can produce a great feeling. A feeling of a burden being lifted off your shoulders. And above all, realizing that your illness does not define you and that you are able to overcome it and push on. This is exactly what we see Arthur feel here. Now, in conclusion, the movie is not telling us to go out in our streets, create chaos, shoot people, and expect to achieve some sort of spiritual highness. It's how these maniacs can and do form in our current society, and how we can make the proper steps to prevent it from happening in the future. We see things such as Sandy Hook and other various school shootings and wonder how to stop them. This movie also offers a broader relation to all people watching, and not just the extreme mentally ill. This film shows us that it is normal to feel left out of society or experience altered thoughts from time to time. It is all a part of being human and is something we all need to embrace. I think if we could come together on a topic as prevalent as this, we could save a lot of lives and improve the overall quality of life in our culture.